So we're ready to go. Good afternoon. Welcome. How are you all doing? Um, this is the FLAVA Workshop for today, November 7th, and I'm Catherine Murphy-Judy. I'm really happy to be here with you, and we're going to be talking about making technology have relevance in the language classroom and moving towards proficiency. So, if you read the abstract, you know that that's what we're going to be talking about. And I underlined a little bit in the abstract just to remind us of what we're doing, that as we look at the Virginia Foreign Language Professional Development Framework, that we're going to be talking about those technologies that enable students to use emerging language skills for authentic communication. Now, we know how to build listening, speaking, reading, writing proficiencies, but we also have to be building digital proficiency in our students. For the 21st century, part of our task as people who are teaching communication is to work with the actual media of communication that the students are going to be using that is backbone to the actual speaking, listening, reading, writing that they're doing. So part of our 21st century teaching challenge is to infuse our lessons with, and this is underscored as well in the abstract there, increasing digital proficiencies like choosing the right tool, engaging in safe practices online, finding technologies that converge rather than overwhelm, and especially learning how to become more autonomous e-learners. So as we're working through this today, that hopefully is what we'll be looking at. So let's take a look at our itinerary du jour. And the first thing that we're going to do is actually go into the Virginia Foreign Language Professional Development Framework. And we're going to look not just at the technology part, but we're going to look at strands A through technology so that we can plan our professional development, because we have to have the proficiencies in order to be working with our students on theirs. After we've looked at ourselves, and we'll be looking at a number of issues as we look at our own professional development and planning that, we'll also be looking at how to articulate novice, in particular novice and the superior digital proficiencies. So we'll actually start with the superior and then backward engineer starting with the novice after that, so that we get an idea of what digital proficiencies specifically for language learners look like. And then we'll be discovering and strategizing some interpretive, interpersonal, and presentational enhancing technologies, wrapping all of it together. So I hope that sounds like a decent itinerary for us today. And a little bit of a warning here, a little caveat. This workshop is not going to be a linear development. I'm going to be introducing various ideas and technologies and strategies, sort of like a jigsaw, and eventually a bigger picture will be emerging. What I'm hoping to see happen with this in a linear development, it's a little bit too digital. What we want happening is some creative thinking and flowing, and that happens when you put different pieces together at different times, and that innovation, that creativity comes from trying to figure out what it is that we're doing, and by having one piece that comes up with another one that we weren't maybe expecting. So what I'm going to ask you to do is be patient. I want you to let your minds wander and ponder as we're going through this. Let the pieces collide with each other on screen and in your mind's eye. At the very end, you're going to have access to the entire PowerPoint, all of the links, so you can go back in a little bit more linear fashion if that's what you need and pick things up. So let's go. Technology in the Virginia Foreign Language Professional Development Framework. We're going to focus on our own digital proficiencies and where they're infused throughout our professional development framework. But the first thing what we're going to do, I would like somebody at where you are, any of you who have devices with you, and these can be any number of mobile devices. It can be the computers that are in the room that you're in right now. And I would like you to go to http://m.socrative.com. And while you're doing that, m.socrative.com, I'm going to go into the T, which is for the teachers, and I'm going to make sure that this is all set up and moving. And do we not have a Socrative already up there? Which one? This one? This one? This one? Okay. So let me get back to the PowerPoint so that you can look at it. All right. So you folks are going to be going into http:// that's your address, msocrative.com. I think I'll actually do this with, I've got a computer over here that I'm using that you're not seeing. I just want to make sure it's all working. And I've got folks here with me who are also doing this. And when you log into that, you're going to see Socrative, and it's going to ask you for the room number. If you would come down now to this room number, 789-142, and if you would put that in. And I'm doing this as you're doing it, so. All right. Whoops, sorry. And hang on just a sec. Get back into my Socrative because I think I have the wrong question up there. Hang on just a sec. Hang on just. So, next question. I need to go back on this. All right, hang on just. Pardon? Yeah, it's going to ask me to do that. Okay. Do no report. Hang on just a sec. So let me go back and start the quiz again. Alrighty, and the room number is still the same, 789-142. And it's teacher paced. All right, here we go. Alrighty, so what the first question that you should have is to enter your last name and then your first name. So if you were Michael West, you'd put West, comma, Michael. You can use some kind of shorthand name. And yay, so we see people showing up here. Oh, this is great. Great. Lots of folks showing up. All righty. Once you have your name there, the first question is going to be, what is your current Virginia location? Are you in the Allegheny Plateau, which is A, the Valley and Ridge, the Blue Ridge, the Piedmont, or the Tidewater. In just a sec, I'm going to have to get back into my teacher area to make this happen. Which one? This one? And so I'm going to go, here's the next question. And this is your current location. So we'll go back here. And you put in either A, B, C, D, or E. So you should see on your screen. Where are we? I think we're in the valley. I think that's where we are. So sorry, I have to keep going back to do this. It's because of how we're running this today. It's all okay. Excuse me. All right. So can we see the responses? So as a teacher, I've done an online polling, and you folks are in throughout the Commonwealth of Virginia, and I'm able to pull up these responses statewide. And obviously, if I was in a classroom and my students had their own devices, I could be doing this. But say I had a student who was sick today, if that student could hear what was going on, that student could still be taking quizzes and interacting with the class using this very simple technology. So yeah, this is part of digital learning in the 21st century, but it's also a way for us to be doing some assessment things quickly and easily in our classroom. And this would be far more dynamic and not quite as difficult if I weren't doing with Adobe Connect, but that's okay. So let's do another question now. And this next question is, I know what the Virginia Professional Development Framework is. True or false? So we'll just wait for a few more folks to put in their answers. And looks like pretty much what we've got is that there are a few more people who don't know what it is as opposed to those who do know what it is. We've got 15 to 19 so far. Alrighty. And I am going to go ahead. Oh, now we're up to 21. So I'm polling what it is that the learners in this activity know. It could be a pre-lesson, it could be during a lesson, it could be post-lesson, but I'm getting a pulse on who knows what. I'm going to go ahead and move back to our PowerPoint. So I polled on this, and then I polled on, I know what the Virginia Foreign Language Professional Development Framework and/or the TEL project is, and a majority of you said that you don't know. So I am actually going to go in, therefore, and show you what the Virginia Foreign Language Professional Development Framework is, because I have data that's telling me that a majority of folks may not know what it is. And if you look up here, you'll see that I've gone into the FLAVA site, and I'm going to go ahead and put in, just so you can see where this actually is. Go back here. And I'm going to go into the flavaweb.org site just so that you can follow with me and see where this is located in our FLAVA site, which of course you have access to. So when you go into workshops in our beautiful new FLAVA site and you click on the workshops, you're going to see about these workshops today, but as you drill down over on the side, you'll see that the Virginia Foreign Language Professional Development Framework is talked about here, and then you have links that will link you into the PDF on it. So I'm going to go back up to where I have this, and the Virginia Foreign Language Professional Development Framework was developed by Lisa Harris and a number of folks. And what this is a way for us as foreign language teachers to have sustained, renewable, and relevant professional development, and a way to plan that. So the background is that this comes from the TEL project and the Bay Area Foreign Language Program at Stanford University. And what we have is just a wonderful way of planning our development and seeing how Dr. Harris at the Virginia Department of Education worked with FLAVA to articulate this and then to offer it to all of Virginia teachers. This is available as a planning document with access to all of the TEL documents that are in the TEL project, the Teacher Effectiveness Language Learning Project. And each one of these strands connects in with Virginia-specific effectiveness aspects. And so today in this workshop, we're going to be looking at the different strands that we have. And I'm not going to spend a lot more time on this, but this is a very strong way for us to plan our own professional development. What's really important is that it connects into FLAVA, so that FLAVA, every time that we have a conference or a workshop, we also say where it fits into this professional development. So when you look at the FLAVA conference and you see all these little PEs and TEs and so on, you can say, oh, all right, I'm going to be working, my plan is that I'm going to be working on strand A and then some specific aspects of strand A. So when I go to this presentation at FLAVA or this workshop or this webinar, it's going to fit in this way and that way into my plan. So you know those professional development opportunities that you have, at least through FLAVA, are categorized according to the plan that you've developed for yourself. Just makes it easier for you to find what you need in order to get professionally developed in the way that you want. So, any rate, in the Virginia Professional Development Framework, there is a technology strand. And as you see, the content from the strand is infused, the technology content is infused throughout all of the other strands, the A, B, C strands. But the technology strand itself focuses on technologies that enable students to use emerging language skills for authentic communication. But we're actually going to, in just a second here, we are going to go into each one of the strands and take a look at them. So we've done our polling, and we know where folks are located, and we know that we needed to look at the professional development framework. So let's move forward. Strand A. This strand is designed for teachers whose area of interest is considering preparing for student learning by establishing a safe and supportive learning environment, planning effectively, and preparing for instruction. Within preparing for student learning, safe and supportive learning environment, planning effectively, preparing for instruction, there are lots of areas where technology can be brought to bear. So we know as we look through the 5 C's, as we're doing planning, and we know that we want to work on communications, that there are lots of different things that we can do that infuse technology into promoting our students' work on communication or culture or connections. Let's take a look at some more, and this is all taken from the Virginia Professional Development framework. So, one of the first things, the environment. So how can I infuse technology into Strand A? How do I create a safe and supportive learning environment? Well, what we're going to do right now is a little work together. And I am asking you to go to this link. And in this link, for setting up the environment, what we're going to do is talk about creating and teaching students about Safe Hex, which is about safe sites, about not bullying, about working out an organic class policy, for example. So if you would go to the Google Doc that I have here, we are going to, let me get back to the PowerPoint. Oh, hang on just a sec. Yeah, this isn't. Where's my bit.ly? Hang on just a sec because I've lost my bit.ly doing it this way. Just a minute. Excuse me. I'm going to have to find the short piece for this so that you have what you need to get into this document. I'm sorry, I lost it for a sec. Hang on, I will be right there. Alrighty, I will get you this bit.ly right now. It was supposed to be right there, and because well, yeah, I need to get out of the PowerPoint. Alrighty, so the bit.ly that we need is right here. Sorry about that. It's you'll go to http://19AFL1F. So at each one of the sites, so at Bedford, Blacksburg, Harrisonburg, King George, Liberty, Randolph-Macon, Roanoke, Spotsylvania, and Virginia Beach. Ooh, I've got more. Washington Lee, that's us. Williamsburg, Longwood, Lucille Brown, Newport News, and ODU. If you would please, you can see folks showing up here. If you choose just one person who's going to be your scribe, you're just going to have one person who's going to do the writing. So what I'd like you to do right now is in your location, I'd like you to first of all choose your scribe, who's the one person who's going to do the typing on this document. And what you are going to be doing is take about 5 minutes at your sites, first of all to think, maybe for about a minute, and then to share your thinking with another person, and then to share those thoughts on this, this Google Doc. You're going to share what you and your students creating and using a collaborative writing environment like Google Docs to create its own class policy and guidelines to ensure a safe, supportive environment that encourages language learning and risk-taking. So what you're going to do is you're going to come up with what are some of the things that you and your students could write as a policy, as a classroom policy, to make sure that the environment in your classroom, especially the digital environment, is safe, it's supportive. So I put a few in here. No bullying, so you might actually come up with a class definition of bullying. You might talk about safety and safe and privacy issues. And if you have some questions and you're looking for some ideas, you can go to this site where a bunch of teachers have gotten together on Pinterest and they've come up with classroom rules. So if you want to take a look at some of those as you're discussing at your sites some various ways of coming up with classroom rules for your classroom to have a safe and effective environment. If you would please do that. Go ahead and turn the mute. So we're back. Everyone can hear me? I hope. So, any rate, let's take a look at some of the ideas that you came up with for, and I want you to think about this as if you were in a class and you were using a Google Doc with your students to create an organic, ongoing document of what you find as you're working through over the course of an academic year or semester. What are the important things that they need to be learning about and thinking about and actually doing as far as safe and supportive learning environments are? And so we said no bullying, safe practices, and over at Lucille Brown, you decided to provide guiding questions to the students so they can collaborate with each other to make the classroom rules. How should we interact with each other? Define bullying, define safe hex. I wouldn't use safe hex. I'm kind of doing a play on safe sex, but they may come up with that, but we probably wouldn't call it safe hex. So yeah, safe online interactions. Thank you very much. It's my shorthand for it. In what ways can written and online communication differ from verbal? You can be asking a lot of really important questions that we want young people thinking about, that we want emerging digital users to think about, to confront, to reflect on, but in a safe environment that's actually creating an even safer environment in our schools. So, Bedford County, love what you've got there. Do not give out personal information. Do not arrange to meet anyone you meet online. And we're going to look at that in just a minute when we actually look at how students behave. Stay on task. Only stay on sites and apps instructed by the teacher, which they need to learn. It's going to take a while to learn that one. Notify the teacher if something inappropriate is on the site. That's great. So let's go on down and see what ODU has got. Yeah, no put downs. So you might even talk about what that is. Facebook, my students were talking about how Facebook caused so much drama when they were in high school. And it became a site they wanted to be there, but at the same time, there was so much drama going on in Facebook that some of them actually aren't using it very much now that they're in college. They just see it as a site where there are too many put downs. Good thing to define what that means. Considering the environment, the situation, the purpose when determining whether to work anonymously or to put their name on a piece of work. Very good. Establishing norms and procedures for editing or commenting on the work of others. And again, there you may find things about netiquette and good social behavior so that one doesn't say, man, that's horrible. No, that's really stupid, especially not saying things that's stupid or any other labels that they might give to someone's work as they're doing peer editing, for example. And then generating a rubric. Oh, I love that. Generate a rubric for how to evaluate collaborative writing. So your students coming together, working on what the rubric is for their language class that's doing collaborative writing so that they know what it is that they're, how they're being assessed, and they're a part of the whole the assessment procedure. Really taking ownership of that. That's just wonderful. Newport News cites only in the target language for those appropriate levels. And, at some of the earlier levels, maybe entirely in the target language isn't quite appropriate. At the novice low, it's just not going to be appropriate. But we can also put into this, this kind of document the kinds of things that they can do so that they can approach and work entirely in the target language, maybe learning better how to use some of the Google Translate and also talking about the problems with using a Google Translate. Starting from a home site, respecting others' digital work. One of the really nice things about this Google environment, we're going to go up here and it's not going to let me do it. Maybe it's under tools now. It's not letting me do it here. I'm looking for where you can see who did what on the doc. I'm not seeing that here. It looks to be turned off. Up over here on comments. I'm sorry, I'm using a completely different interface from what I'm used to, so just be patient with me. That well, on which I can't hear you.
Click on any of the, you can see where they are.
Well, I can see where they are, but what I want to see is who's done what work. There's usually something over on the side that lets me see who's done what work in my classes. It's one of the tools that Google has. Well, I will look for that and share that with you, because Google generally has a way where you can review who exactly has put what at what time into the page that you're working on.
Go to File.
Uh-huh.
And then
It's not allowing it. So you've got it turned off here for some reason. But that's okay. As I said, I will come back and show you how to do this. It seems to be turned off here. All right. So let's see. Where was I? How should we act with one another? We already looked at that. Privacy. All righty. ODU, Newport News. Respect each other's digital work. There usually is on Google Doc a place where you can look at who's done what at what time, and you can. It's the revision work that you can look at. All right. Privacy, anonymity. Do you just use last names, first names? What do you use? Appropriate level vocabulary. Refraining from using online translators. I love that. Although we do also have to teach them how to use them well. I don't just throw the baby out with the bathwater and say absolutely no translators, unless of course they're supposed to be doing something that's their own work. So let's see, listing sources from the internet. And as we're talking about that, I am going to go back up into tools. And I don't know if you've seen this, but the students can do research over here. And as they're doing research, say we want them in Scholar and we want them looking up digital tools. And when they find something, then they can also, through the research, let's say we want that one, we can have them cite it, and it actually puts the citation in. And typically you can choose whether you want MLA or one of the other citation and bibliographical formats. So just kind of an interesting thing that's there. All righty. So let's see. Harrisonburg, follow the teacher's lead. Don't move ahead. Stay within the teacher's portal. Be clear about whether you're open to correction from other students. It's okay to tell another student, I don't understand what you're saying in writing, just as long as you don't do it in a mean way. Framing your criticisms. Roanoke, use your own words in the target language. No plagiarism. Yes, really great. Treat the computer as if it's your own. So yeah, these are absolutely wonderful, wonderful things. Focus on the subject. Update security settings. Yes, in the social media. Let's see, Chesapeake. Make only positive or constructive comments, constructive being the operative word, staying on task. So I think we have a lot of really great ideas of how we could use a collaborative document like this in our classrooms to create a supportive environment. Just an example. Hang on, I'm having mouse difficulties now. I can't get it over there. There we go. Okay. So, of course, also still in Strand A, infusing technology through this Strand A. Planning, how does my planning of learning experiences prepare? We can put lots of technology in there. Learning tools, completely a part of the technology infusion strategies. So we're going to go back, and this is drilling down into Strand A to look at some various teacher targets. There are a lot more in the framework document itself, but let's go ahead and take a look at language teaching for today's learner. This is from the Pew Internet the Pew Research Center, and this is the report on the Internet and American Life Project. This is so important for us to know who our learners are. 78% of them have a cell phone. 23% have a tablet computer. 95% they use the internet. So this is who our students are. And there are, let me see, let me go back. So we need to go to things like the Pew Report and take a look at who our students are, what they look like today, what they're doing, because this is changing. That Pew Report is from, I believe it's 2012, and it's a huge difference from the 2009 report. An emerging part of a target for a teacher who's emerging in Strand A might be planning to teach in the target language. And of course, we can find all kinds of sites like this. This one's a really fun one. And I hope you can hear the music. Okay, I wanted to just show you that one as we're talking about some emerging strategies for targeting using technology. And obviously, if you want to teach in the target language, finding sites like this that have entirely in the target language with fun songs and they've got all of the text there, and at the same time, as they're listening to the song and seeing those amazing pictures and getting it's almost like it's been subtitled, they're able to actually interact with it. And so obviously using technology to plan to teach in the target language, we can do that as we get better with our own searching and finding and resourcing of technology tools. Now, an advancing teacher, so beginning teacher is looking at language teaching for today's learner and finding out about their students. Planning to teach in the target language is a little bit higher order ability. And advancing, maybe you're going to go into the 21st century skills framework and look at this and actually put in some of these 21st century skills, maybe critical thinking and problem solving. So in addition to doing your language teaching, you're also infusing 21st century skills, which is part of what we're talking about doing here today anyway with all of these digital technologies. So let's go back now, and I wanted to look one more time at the Pew report before we leave it. And I was going to use an online PDF sharing reader, but we'll have to do that later. Let's take a look at this Pew report just one more time. Please, please keep in mind the Pew report and who our students are. And if you drill down more into this, you'll find that students are doing some really interesting things. You're just getting a lot more data on who students are and what they're doing. And another one is how teens share information. And this goes back to what we just did. I'm going to skip out of this and not actually answer the questions. I want to go right to the data, because this is going to tell us about our students and who they are as far as sharing information on social media. 58% of them share inside jokes and coded messages, which we know they do. They post fake information for their privacy, which is a good thing. But look at that, 16% automatically include location on their posts. In other words, a predator or anyone can find 16% of our students the minute they log on to their social media. That's something that we need in our document on creating a safe environment and helping our students learn how to be better, more responsible, safer users of digital media. 19% post content that they regret. 59 deleted something, that might be good. 53 delete comments that have been made, which is good. They should know how to do that so they don't feel bad. Untagging photos of themselves, which is great. 84% share their interests on social media, which they would be doing. But look at that, 24% are posting videos of themselves online. May or may not be a good idea, but they've got their images out there. So again, when we think of safety issues, this is the one that really concerned me. 53% share their email address. That's something that's got to go into our guidelines that we work out with our students for safe, supportive use of media as students and as young people. And 20% share their phone number. These are really important pieces of data for us to look over at how our students are acting right now, so that as we go back and write our guidelines and work with them to create a document that is their document, their policy, our policy for a supportive environment, we know what it is that they're doing. 91% have posted a photo of themselves. May or may not be one that's open publicly, but they're posting photos of themselves. We're going to see more of that later. And then just a little bit more on the social media environment that we're working with and that our students are already living in. Facebook is going down a little bit. As you can see, this is you've got the the fall of 2012, spring of 23, and then fall of 2013, which is right now, what they're using, their important media sites. Twitter is growing. Instagram, which these are, lots of picture sites, are really growing. Google Plus, they're using a lot. Tumblr. This is where we can go and take a look at what they're actually using. And that's very relevant to us setting up setting up lessons for them, learning environments that they're actually interested in. Okay. So, Strand B now. Strand B is designed to deepen our understanding of foreign language methodologies, to enable our students, or to enable them to develop high-yield strategies to help students achieve their daily performance objectives, using assessments to show what they know, and capitalizing on resources to advance student learning. Again, I think we can see technology is in here everywhere, but let's go ahead and we're going to take a look as we drill down from the TEL document. This is the learning experience. How do I provide meaningful learning experiences that advance student learning? And just something that I would like to bring to our attention. This is from the ACTFL Foreign Language Annals. It's a really good and important piece on a review of high leverage teaching practices that makes connection between mathematics and foreign languages. And high leverage teaching practices are practices that we have found through research with ample data that there actually is data on improved student learning. This isn't just, gosh, I think this is a great practice. I think this is a best practice. I've been doing it for years and it works. But this is based in data so that we know that these are actually ways of learning that advance or ways of teaching that advance student learning. So for us to find something like this as a part of our professional development and using technology to help us find that is really important. And of course, performance and feedback. How do my students and I use performance and feedback to advance student learning? And I'd like for us now just to kind of remember how I used Socrative in the beginning so that you can have pre-testing or pre-lesson data that you gather so that you know how many people know what it is. So you can say, do I go into this in more depth in this lesson, or is this something that I can just deal with topically so we can actually get into performance on it? Alrighty. So some of the teacher targets for Strand B, introducing integrated performance assessments, LinguaFolio, teaching in the target language, we already looked at that. Some of the emerging things would be designing tasks for the integrated performance assessments, doing formative and summative assessments, analyzing student work to inform instruction, etc. And then advancing, when we're moving forward in this, as we get better and better at it, delivering performance or proficiency-oriented instruction, and expanding integrated performance assessments, and so on. And of course, technology can be integrated into every single one of those. All right, Strand C is looking at how we can develop our abilities to increase collaboration and develop professional practices that support student learning. So, for example, how does collaboration with stakeholders support student learning? Let's take a look at this. So one of the things that we can do, and one of the great sites that we can learn about, is Edutopia. If you don't know it, it's a free online and paper-based organization, and this gives some really great ideas on how we can meet with parents and then actually maybe even do workshops for parents. So the parents are learning how to do Google Docs and those applications, in order to have better ways of working with their children and working with us. So something like this is just a great piece for doing collaboration. And another one, how does my continued growth as a professional support student learning? And obviously it does. The more we're learning to do things like we are today, the better it is. So I'm taking you to the FLAVA site because, of course, we know that FLAVA has got a wonderful conference, and we've got lots of workshops like these that allow us to develop professionally and to do it within a professional development plan like the Virginia Professional Foreign Language Professional Development Framework. I want to get us back to doing some work. These are some of the targets for working within Strand C to build, for example, personal language proficiency, but also digital proficiency. Emerging would be expanding your personal language proficiency and your digital proficiency, and advancing, of course, organizing events, mentoring other professionals. And I want to say a quick thing about the mentoring, the mentoring other professionals. At FLAVA, we need you, as you're doing really great things, to offer to do workshops and sessions at the conference. So please, it's time as you're growing in your Strand C development, if that's what you're focused on, to look at offering presentations, workshops, and so on at the FLAVA conference. All right, the technology strand, it's infused absolutely everywhere. So it's all the learning tools, and in the TEL domain, it's under learning tools. How do my students and I capitalize on a variety of learning tools to advance student learning? This is the strand. So some of the things that are under there, as you're working at a beginning level and trying to get better at it, you might work at digital voice recording, international keyboards, student response systems. As you're emerging, podcasting, blogs, Clear and other foreign language web tools, Flickr, Pinterest, Vine, Instagram. Advancing, using collaborative documents. So we've already been doing some advancing work using a collaborative document just to create a supportive environment. Wikis, video conversions, Skype, bring your own device. So having said that, let's do a survey and see where you are in your technological development. Please go to this tiny URL, which is http, or just put it in the address bar, tinyurl.com FLAVA webinar. I'll give you a second or two to get into that. And let me go ahead and click into it. And what we've got here is, for our workshop, this is a quick and easy Google survey. And you can go ahead and just do it for your site if you can only do it with one person. But if you have your mobile devices and you can get into this, you can go ahead and do it. As many of you as want can go on in here and just go ahead and put what you know how to do already. I'm going to do the ones that I know how to do already. I actually don't use Flickr. I mean, I have, but I'm not using it that much. And I do some video conversions, Skype. And I haven't done bring your own device in my classes. And you could put in some of your favorites that you have here. What do I think should be on this list? Explain everything, maybe. And then when you finish doing that, go ahead and click submit. And you'll see that it's been recorded. Give us a few more minutes for everybody to get in there and do this. And I'm going to have to sign in. Excuse me just a sec. Who am I? Whoops, I guess that's not who I am. Oh, I know. I just have too many selves. All right. And I need to look at my drive. And we've got 32 responses, so we're going to look at the responses now. And I can get, as a teacher, it's interesting for me to see this as a spreadsheet, but I can also go up and look at this. This is so interesting. This is completely different from what I use. There's my survey. That's what I'm looking for. So let's take a look at who we are and what we know how to do. Wow, we've got quite a few here on the advancing list. A lot of stuff that we know how to do. So let's see, Pinterest and YouTube, Edmodo, and I'm sorry I haven't been speaking about Edmodo, and I probably am not going to, but yeah, Edmodo is definitely wonderful. Google Voice, Animoto, EduCreations, we'll talk about that in a bit, Socrative and Quizlet. Lots of really fun things. Glogster, more Quizlet, Gaggle. I've got a bunch of my students who are just, as autonomous learners, have set up their own Quizlet sites, and they're doing a lot of work on their own in it. Different social media like Facebook, Explain Everything. Conjuguemos, did I pronounce that badly? Conjuguemos. Bien, okay. So yeah, all right. And just taking a look at what we just did, that was a fast and dirty survey and something that you could do with your students the night before. You give them a link, they can go in, you can have results, you can talk about those results when you walk into class and flip them up and talk about them in target language because you've got the visual information, and it's the students love to know, they love to see themselves, whether it's a selfie or it's who they are and what they're thinking and what they're doing. They love the immediate kind of survey results. They just love it. So we're going to look now at digital proficiencies and language proficiencies. And we're going to talk about what can learners do and where should we be headed with them. And we have already looked at some of these issues. So first of all, let's be honest. What kinds of behaviors have you observed in your classrooms already? And I'm going to talk with the group that's sitting here with me. So come on, let's be honest. What have we seen our students doing that's connected with digital technologies, electronics, in the classroom? What have you noticed going on? Okay, there's a lot of texting that's going on. A lot of Facebooking going on. What other things? Sorry?
News on their laptops.
Okay, so they're doing news and things on their laptops. I'm going to turn off the mic and I'm going to let each group at your different sites, I want you to talk about what when you let the students have the laptops and the iPads and the phones in the classroom, honestly, what behaviors have you been seeing? So go ahead, take a couple of minutes and share. Okay, you've had a few minutes to go ahead and talk about some of the behaviors you've noticed, and we're going to read some of them off of the chat that we've had here.
Games.
Okay, they're playing games. Oh yeah, they're playing games.
Off task.
They're off task, playing games. They're Instagramming.
Snapchat.
They're Snapchatting.
Take pictures of assignments, vocabulary lists, and yeah, sometimes cheating.
Okay, yeah, we got some cheating going on. Yes, we do. So, just wanted to show you a few things that I found. And we're going to be talking about what novice, intermediate, advanced, and digital proficiencies look like, but let's look at what's going on. Electronic aggression, where does it happen? In chat rooms, on websites, especially in instant messaging. And if they're doing this in our classroom, and there's instant messaging going on, and it's electronic aggression as well as being off task and just problematic to begin with, it's a problem. Email, text messages, and so on. And this one over on the right-hand side, I just love. It says, I changed all my passwords to incorrect. So whenever I forget it, it will tell me your password is incorrect. So just looking at some of the behaviors that our students do engage in. And then here are a few more pieces of information, that just some graft for thought. Uh, Students, of course, with their cell phones in class, store information on it. They text their friends the answers. They take pictures of the exams, and they search the internet for answers to the exams. And so you see the blue are the students who have done it and admit to it themselves, and the red are those who know a friend at school who's done this. So, I mean, look at what they're doing. When they have their cell phones in school, we've got some pretty impressive percentages there on what they're really doing with some of the technologies. All righty. So, we're going to start playing around with looking at some adjectives and verbs that define successful digital learners. And we're actually going to do this in our groups in a minute. But let's go ahead and come up with some adjectives and verbs for, let me get out of this. Woo. Yikes. Let me get down here. Some adjectives and verbs for defining successful language learners. And I don't know if this is going to let me do it. Can I get in there? Ooh. Okay. So, anything coming up? Any kind of adjectives? What does a successful digital learner look like? Okay, engaged. Innovative. Good. A successful digital learner.
Intellectually curious.
Intellectually curious. Okay.
Connecting
Connecting.
and inquisitive.
Okay, I think I'll make those two separate ones. Um, oops. Inquisitive.
Experimental.
Experimental.
Undaunted.
Undaunted. Oh, I'm loving some of these. Okay, I'm going to move over to verbs now because we've got quite a few adjectives. So let's look at some behaviors. What are some things that they do? Successful, highly successful digital language learners. What do they do? I like play, that they play with all of their little tools for languages.
Explore.
Explore. Ooh, it would help if I typed that right, wouldn't it?
Demonstrate savoir-faire. That might be the
Demonstrate
savoir-faire.
savoir-faire, knowing how to do it. Cool.
Discover, create, innovate.
Discover, create, innovate. Okay, it looks like you all are talking a lot and coming up with some great ideas. So let me get back into my regular PowerPoint here, and we're going to move forward. And I've actually created a wiki for us. And on this wiki, what we're going to work on uh, are the superior level digital proficiencies. So the kinds of things that we were talking about. This is the superior proficiency. This is where eventually we really want to see all of our students getting to with their digital proficiencies connected to language learning. And in your different locations, you'll probably have some folks who are elementary, some middle, some high or post-secondary. And we do kind of have to divide up because there are different digital proficiencies. I mean, an elementary school person probably wouldn't hit superior anyway, but we do need to think in a little bit more age-appropriate way. So when you go to this tiny URL, which is FLAVA hyphen WLU for Washington Lee University hyphen wiki. When we go to this URL, we will find our wiki. So I hope you all have that address. And this is what it's going to look like. We're not doing novice proficiency or intermediate or advanced. We're going to go straight to superior. And the reason we want to go straight to superior is because what we need to do for backward engineering is know where at the end of all of this we really ideally want them to get. And that's the kind of things that we were looking at with our adjectives and our verbs already. So as you are at your different site, you might want to have those people who teach elementary get together, and they would go into this segment, which is for elementary. And if they're, the high school folks can work together on the high school page. And, post-secondary is not going to be exactly the same because we don't have quite the lockdown in the post-secondary. So if you've got a group of post-secondary people, you can work on eventually where we want to see our students getting with their digital literacies here. And not to forget the middle school folks, they've got their own page. Now, should it happen that you don't have that many people in your site and you want to just work on one of them, just go ahead and choose one of these. So for example, if you decide that you've got a lot of middle school people, then go ahead and work on this one. And what you need to do, I'm not seeing that they can actually do this. No, I made it so that all you needed was the link. Go ahead and start talking about it. go ahead and start talking about it, and I'm going to see what's happened that you're not able to get in here and do the inputting. So I will be right back with you. Go ahead and discuss what this ideal learner looks like, what they should be doing, and how they'll be working with digital media, what they should be able to do when they're finished. Okay, sorry. The Google Sites, which is their wiki producing uh, application, is not allowing you guys to input, which is really a problem. So if you could just go ahead and at each location, just come up with, when working with digital media in your world language class, um, what optimally at the end should a student be able to do? What would be superior proficiency in working with digital media for someone as they are finishing middle school and they're finishing your courses? And I know it's not exactly superior proficiency, but we'll use that. It's an incorrect appellation for that. But where optimally, when they leave middle school or when they leave high school or when they leave college, what should this ideal student look like?
Ask you
Mm-hmm.
to specify the type of the project, um, digital proficiency, language, or both.
Let's keep it, because just digital literacy globally would be huge. So let's just say, what kind of digital literacy should students have with regard to language learning when they finish middle school language classes, high school language classes, um, post-secondary language classes. And I think seeing how we're having technical difficulties, maybe we should just leave it at sort of that end of high school, because I think that's probably who all we have, unless you've got somebody who's, or a majority of people in middle schools. Hmm?
Identify credible sites, incorporate new and emerging technologies as appropriate. I think you might be able to see their answers.
Where? Not on here, but okay, on
here,
there.
Yeah.
They're going to be really small.
I made them as the text sizes. Is it better this way?
Yeah. Okay, so are we getting these for?
These are their answers.
Okay. See some of the ones that we're doing here. Whoops. I'm trying to get this to refresh.
The site?
Yeah. Up here? Okay, good.
They have
No.
more answers if you like.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and tell me what they are and I'll just type them.
Okay.
Because
Collaborative applications such as blogging. Another says different norms for interacting with social media from other cultures.
That one's really great.
Discussion boards.
Okay, and I need to refresh this again. Oh, wait. Don't do it yet. Don't do it yet. I gotta save it up here. Okay. Okay. Discerning use of translation.
Such as substitute for real learning.
I didn't hear that.
Another thing is that students learn to access different sites for current events, such as French TV and radio. We have Skype with local colleges and high schools in the county to communicate in the target language.
Okay, say that again.
We have Skype with local colleges and high schools in the county to communicate in the target language. Also, telephoning to different countries' expressions.
What was that about different countries' expressions? Doing what?
Call them like telephoning.
Okay. Okay, and let me do a save, and I think we can go back now. And
You want me to refresh?
yeah, go ahead and refresh, please. My apologies that the wiki isn't letting you in. I'm sorry. Sometimes that happens, and you have to have all kinds of acceptances and permissions, and for whatever reason, this isn't just letting us in. But at any rate, some of the things that I wrote in then, we just used one of the instances, which would be in high school. When they finish with high school, we'd like them working with digital media in their world language classes and being able to identify credible sites. Wow, that's really important, not just for language classes, but for life in general, being able to look critically and identify the ones that are uh, not just flames and somebody's personal opinions. Um, Incorporating new and emerging technologies as they're appropriate. Yeah, that would be wonderful for our students to reach that point and for us to help them get to that point using presentational software, um, so that they're using the right presentational software for the right skill set, for the right type of presentation they're giving. Learning better search skills, and I'm terribly sorry about my typing. I was typing really fast. Self-learning skills. So learning how to become autonomous learners is, if we can bring them to that point, we've done our jobs. But definitely it's something over the time. And are we going to get our students up to superior skills? Well, we know we don't do that in language learning. That's takes a lot longer, and it's a longer course of learning and doing and being in the world. But we're talking ideal. We want to move them towards this. We want them being able to use collaborative applications, things like blogging and so on. Realizing that there are different norms for interacting. I love this one. Different norms for interacting with social media in different cultures. Wow, that's something. And that's something we have to keep in our mind's eye as we're designing our lessons, as we're giving our lessons, as we're assessing. Are we moving them as digital learners towards being able, as global digital learners, being able to do this? Using discussion boards, discerning when to use translation, and I'm not too sure, I'm sorry about that one, I didn't quite finish it, but when to use the translating opportunities that there are, the Google Translate, and more we're going to be seeing more and more artificial intelligent ways of using translation, but our students need to know when to use them and when not to use them. Maybe if they're studying Chinese, they're going to want to use them if they're looking at something in Korean, but we don't particularly want them using them for the Chinese that they're doing. Or if a French student is seeing something and it's in German, they might need to learn how to use translating and have the acumen to know that maybe they're not quite getting exactly what's being said in German, and figuring out ways to find other supports for making sure that what they think they got translated is really what it is. It's a wonderful skill that we need to bring our students to being able to do, to discern, to know that Google Translate isn't always giving them a good translation. Different sites for current events, so being able to go and find the radio and the TV and the blogs and whatever is current, the Twitter, and knowing how to find the news as quickly as possible, what's really going on right now, and again, looking at credible sources and being able to locate places that you can Skype with so that you can practice your language in safe and supportive environments and be able to use what's going on in a classroom but in a real world setting. And then telephoning to different countries just to find out, hey, how do you guys say this? That's a lot of different things. Obviously, it's not in a nice package, but we're doing the thinking that we need to so that we can bring our students along, giving them relevant digital proficiencies for language learning and for life, and hopefully ones that they're interested in. Okay, we can imagine a novice learning now. We just looked at where we want them to get. So let's talk about minimally as they're starting. What kinds of things can they do? What should they be able to do after just a short time with us? Where at the novice level do we want them to get? We know eventually where we want them to get at the end all be all, but where do we start? We're going to backward engineer all the way down to the novice level. Where do we start them? What kinds of things are we expecting out of them in those first couple of years of language learning? And so what I'd like you to do is kind of ground your thinking in that can-do, novice level proficiency, the performance descriptors. What can they do? What eventually will they be able to do as we're working through this? Take a few minutes at your location. And I've divided you up to different topics. So listening, speaking, reading, writing, culture, communication, communities, comparisons, and I've put them all together just to give us some ways of thinking about the novice level. Choose one person who's going to be your typist. He'll probably be your group leader there. And let's take a look at this bit.ly page, which is bit.ly/1B WKTOL. And just in case I don't have that there, can I do a copy on this?
Yes. Maybe you have to.
Oops. Let's go ahead and see what happens. No, if I don't have my bit.ly there, and they're going to need it. So let me get back and get the bit.ly for them. Oh, it's typed in the chat. Okay. Well, go ahead and give it to me, and I'll put it up here. So it's www. Well, you don't need that. So bit.ly/1 capital B.
No, 1B capital WK and then TOL.
All right, let me make this really big so y'all can see it. Okay, so you're going to be discussing the digital skills, things might have to do with searching, safety, privacy habits, etiquette and etiquette, collaborative behaviors, but in particular, don't be looking so much at those as you'll be looking.
I think the link is wrong. You might have to
The link is wrong?
Yeah, like could you go back to the PowerPoint?
Yeah, to the PowerPoint. It's not working for folks?
It says it takes us to.
It takes us to what? I just put it in, and it seems to be right. That's the one that I just put in, and it seems to be working.
It says that the last letter is capital I.
Oh, it's a capital I?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry, that's a capital I, not a T-O-L, it's a T-O capital I. Terribly sorry. Talk about some digital literacy proficiencies that we need being literate. Okay, so as you go down, let's talk about some of the things that the students need as they're working on communication, a novice level. What sort of digital abilities do they need to be able, at that novice level, to be able to handle? And listening, what kinds of things are they going to need to be able to handle in order to do listening tasks and to improve their listening? Reading, what kinds of things? All right, so I'm going to turn off our mic and we're going to talk and come up with some things here at Washington and Lee. Okay. Yeah, we started kind of going crazy here and came up with a whole bunch of things. Communication, obviously, it's everything's all together. But we had things like first we said using foreign keyboards, and then we realized no, they need to know how to type from the very get-go. And then doing recordings, being able to look up pictures. And actually there's a whole Google training on how to use Google searching is so powerful for images where you can actually drag and drop an image in and it will find others like that. I don't think it's got where you could do an image and find French windows as opposed to whatever. But I suppose if you type it in French and it's fenêtre and you do it through Google FR, you're going to find more images that are appropriate as French images. And you could do that in the other languages. So we came up with a whole bunch. And Roanoke, what have you got? Listening. So listening to the teacher's instructions. Okay, whether they're digital or not, um, they need to listen to instructions and follow written instructions, using ancillary materials, knowing how to access them, uh, with or without direct instruction. More at first with direct instruction, but um, learn to listen for comprehension. Yeah, because a lot of times they sit back and they wait for us to give it to them in English. So if we're doing it in target language and there are no subtitles in English and there's no English translation, that's part of what we can be doing with the technologies that we're teaching them, getting them more and more used to listening for meaning in the target language, not being afraid of that. Reading, having them work in small reading groups with a story, summarizing in the target language. Digital storytelling apps, those are so powerful. Yeah. A to Z, students find facts while they're reading a passage. Um, from Liberty, I don't see you guys yet, but you'll be up there soon. Lucille Brown, being able to know under speaking what to say to whom, and maybe being able to find instances of that, examples on YouTube. How do you talk to somebody from this class, or a teacher as opposed to another student? Intonation, oh yeah, and pronunciation, syllable stress. Old Dominion under interpretive. So how to use web features to find the information, finding sites that offer listening opportunities, photos, visuals, listening to podcasts, definitely. Presentational, photo story, similar tools to demonstrate. Using presentation tools like PowerPoint to create a report on a cultural aspect. And I'm going to put one in here on yours, and using something like SlideShare. Oops, if I spell that correctly. SlideShare, and I believe that's a .com, it might be a .net, but SlideShare has just loads of examples. So your students can go in and look and see how other students have created presentations to help them with some of their brainstorming. Of course, we also want them not to be taking other people's slide shares, but definitely using it for brainstorming, getting ideas, seeing what's possible at different levels, creating videos and skits. Newport News, safety issues, yeah. So modeling appropriate interpersonal applications and how to use them, how not to open yourself up in Skype. And I know when I first started using Skype, I would be uh, talking to someone, and I always had these drunken Irish guys who at about midnight would find me on Skype, and they just sort of burst in and start talking to me. And I didn't want to talk to them, but I didn't know how to set my Skype to keep out the wanton drunken people at midnight when I was, trying to Skype with some other country that I had to be up online at midnight. So yeah, definitely some safety issues there. Modeling acronyms and web language in the target language. For comparisons, finding level appropriate websites in the target language for researching information, typing special characters. Yeah. Harrisonburg, right-clicking to look up synonyms, definitely. Entering accents, removing accents, and having the students auto-correct the accents. Um, understanding how error correction works, very good. Communities for elementary and secondary, accessing the web or using computers at all. So some students haven't had access at home. So sometimes you have to go into the community and maybe even do things where you help the parents learn how to use these things, because parents can go to libraries and have access to computers, and letting parents know about that, Skyping with other countries, talking abroad. So yeah, some really good ideas there. And let me get back into this. Take a look at, so we've been looking at a whole bunch of things, and now we're just going to play a little bit. These are some really fun ones that I found just for interpretive collaborative reading. MIT has got a PDF collaborative reader. Take a look at this. So you can read up on it, but you have a PDF that you've put up there for yourself and whomever you're working with, and you're able to do all kinds of different annotations on it with other people at the same time. And what a wonderful way to do collaborative reading with your students and annotating. So that was one that I found a while back at MIT, and it's really wonderful. And if you don't know Digo, Digo is this social bookmarking site where you can go up and do your bookmarking, but then you can also highlight and share and tag, and it stays anywhere and everywhere that you are. So anywhere you are in the world, you can go back to a Digo and find what you're doing, and you can share it with other people. Digo is just outrageously powerful for collaborative, interpretive work, especially reading, especially reading. And I'm just going to move ahead because I think we're pretty close to the end of our time here. The interpersonal, we've talked about a lot of different ideas. The students are loving Vine and Instagram. And these Vine are little 6-minute videos that can then be shared via Twitter or on the vine.co site. But it's only a mobile application, whereas Instagram, you can go, Instagram is connected with Facebook, and I just have to remember who I am here. I think that's me. And it may not be. I may have to go through my Facebook to get in. Oh, no, there I am. No, I'm not. Oh, yeah, that's one of my students, former students. So you can just, you and your student, well, especially your students, can take these little 15-second, and these are just the static ones, but little 15-second videos and share them. And of course, if you use a hashtag for your class, you can share all of the ones with your students, and they can actually have conversations, 15-second conversations, where you give a prompt and then they answer back. And they just love doing it because it's them, and it's a video selfie. And the same thing with Vine, but Vine is only 6 seconds, so it cuts down the uhs and ahs a little bit more. But again, I've been working with my students it's a class in English, and they absolutely adore both Vine and Instagram. They will do anything I ask them to do as long as they get to Vine it or Instagram it. Few things presentationally, and some people did mention explain everything. So, I don't want that. I don't want that right now.
Explain Everything is a screencasting app for the iPad. It is $2.99 in the App Store.
They can't hear it.
Explain Everything allows
Okay,
professors to
you'll have a link to this, but Explain Everything is just this wonderful presentational tool for students to use where they can have the visuals and the audio, and they can uh, record themselves. And also Jing, you can do that. You can do Jings off of a computer screen. And Edu Creations is pretty much the same thing. And then presentationally, you've got Prezzies and SlideShare, Wikis and Nings, and lots of others. So I know the last part was pretty fast, but we pieced together a whole bunch of different ideas. What we looked at is what we need to look at in our professional development framework so that we can prepare ourselves and be thinking about all of the different ways that we can infuse technology. Then we looked at who our students are in this digital landscape so that we can better engage them, so that we can be more relevant and touch them in ways that are relevant to their life, to their digital realities right now. We looked at what digital learning goals and skills go with different proficiency levels and ages. And again, I'm sorry about the wiki because we would have been able to do more age-appropriate things if the wiki had been working. And then we just very quickly looked at a few fun apps and sites that promote performance and assessments across the different, the interpretive, the presentational, and the interpersonal. So maybe we have time for a few questions.
Randolph Macon College also says that University of Texas has a reading tool which is called e-comma. Like it allows
Okay, so University of Texas Austin has got eComma, which is a reading tool, I guess similar to the MIT one where students can read together. And reading can be a social experience. We've learned, through modernity that no, when you read, you just have your stuff and you read it all by your lonesome. But reading used to always be sort of a social event and storytelling and so on. And with things like this, people can learn how to read together because our students don't always come with really great decoding skills, but with somebody else who helps them do the decoding as a pair online or in class, it's a really good way for them to become better at the interpretive mode.